Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Touchline Talks with your boy CJ Socials. Um, you know, I'm here just to talk about the weekend review. Obviously, the two biggest games this weekend will be Manchester United versus Chelsea, and we also do have the El Clasico in the Liga with Real Madrid versus Barcelona. The Real Madrid Barcelona one, I'm doing a post match review on Sunday, 5 p.m. Eastern Canadian time, and which will be 11 a.m. Eastern time, which will be 5 p.m., 6 p.m. Western Europe time, Paris, England, depending on where you are. So today's just going to be mostly focused on obviously the EPL, Manchester United, Chelsea, but obviously you can't, as a Manchester United fan, I can't continue this broadcast without touching on obviously the PSG game midweek and obviously just everything that's going on around the club. It's been a crazy week, I gotta say. I can't believe that we went in just over a week or under a week. We went from Ole out, this team is garbage, our season is over, to, oh my goodness, Ole's a genius. To we've got a solid team. So I think that kind of speaks to how crazy football is in terms of how we can go from, rock bottom to all of a sudden top of the world. And so I'm really excited about that. The Newcastle game, I think to me we won that game, and it was what it was. The PSG game really proved that obviously Ole got the tactics spot on, whether you liked it or not. He got the job done. The players got the job done. I was one of the fan base that when I saw that lineup again, I'm like, oh my goodness, in Europe, it's one thing against Newcastle, but to pull that against PSG, I was like, where's the creativity going to come from? I do get it. We're going to be very organized defensively, but from an offensive standpoint, where the goal's going to come from? And for the second time, I was proved wrong. But it's the game, man. As a fan of football and as a fan of Manchester United, I got to go with the punches. And that was something that really made me realize that, sometimes we don't know what's going on behind the scenes, and we're very quick, and as fans right now we're very reactionary versus trying to understand the lineup and why Ole picked that lineup. I'm still not Ole in completely, but at this point in time, with everything has gone on in the club, I think Ole's putting Manchester United in the right direction. I think PSG was a statement to hopefully what's coming to the season. Obviously, looking at Ole's press conference, obviously he talks about, obviously the victory that they had in Europe, which was, he's been talking about how the players have not been fit. They've not been match fit. Obviously, we thought that was an excuse about how the preseason has gone. But, when you kind of look around the league, you do see that there's no team right now that is really consistent. Across Europe, even Munich, they're European champions. They haven't really, kicked it up a gear, and you can tell that this year has been crazy for everybody. And I think even though we look at soccer players or athletes, professionals, we put them on a certain pedestal, but you have to also understand that just like how you go to work on Monday, they go to work too. So there's been a lot of pressure on them. So, it's nice to see that Ole is now bringing that camp together, and obviously, commending Tuanzebe as well. Oh my goodness, 10 months out, since last December, and for him to come in a big game like this and, stamp his presence is commendable for such a young kid against the likes of Mbappe. We've talked about that. Neymar. those are names on the team sheet that when you see it, as a defender, I would be terrified. I'm having nightmares of, you know, things that they would do to me on that soccer field. So for him to come into a team that he hasn't really played with and also been injured for that long, I got to say that's commendable. Obviously, Ole talks about how he's going to be a long-term plan for Manchester United. So I know he's still relatively new in the career, but I think he's definitely shown that he's got the qualities to be United's center back for a very long time. Obviously, we know his injury issues, but I hope that he can be managed the right way to get the best out of his abilities. Also, I think a lot of fans also need to understand with the issue with Mason Greenwood as well. There's lots of media reports of, he's doing X, Y, Z. He's getting dropped from the team just because of disciplinary actions. I think the one thing that we have to understand, Mason is still young. I think about, I'm 31 years old, and I remember even 25 years old, what I did at 25. And I look back and I'm like, man, I was stupid. I think Mason has the right group around him that I hope that he will be able to come out of this positive. I think he's shown a lot of maturity in the way he's handled the social media aspect of not, lashing back at the media or saying things that he shouldn't be saying. He's kept it quiet. And I think it was nice to see Ole back him as well, in that Ole saying, you know what, he's a good kid. He's from a good family. He shows up on time, to the point of when talking about ex-Manchester United players, which I'm going to come to as well. I think they've been a huge part in the United narrative of late. I think, but yeah, anyways, it was nice to see Ole shut down those rumors, because we know what the media, it's always an agenda for the media, and that's their job. You got to, just like how you go to work to be a banker, firefighter, a doctor. That's the media's job. When you think about it, from the celebrities to sports, to politics, the media always has an agenda. And I think as fans of a team, or as supporters of a club, or any aspect of life, we have to realize that and read the story, but understand where the angle of that story is coming from. Is this a personal agenda? Is this something that the paper is just trying to sell? You gotta really use your judgment to try to figure out what is it that, what's the aim? What's the aim of this report? And I think historically, a lot of players have gone down this path as well. So big ups to Mason Greenwood, big ups to Ole. He's really showing that he's got, he's shown that he's got what it takes to lead these lads. So I can't complain on that. Obviously, we know Marcus Rashford, MBE. He's the highlight right now of Manchester United. Arguably sharing that spotlight with Bruno Fernandes. So which is well deserved. I think I don't think the spotlight that Marcus Rashford is getting, I think he deserves it. It's something that we've said over and over, that when you're in a position to change, when you're in a position of change, you gotta do these things. It's not just about the Instagram post or the new watch you got or the place that you visited. It's about what are you doing for your community. And I'm not saying that other players are not doing it, but it's commendable that someone as young as Marcus Rashford could change a system in the UK. That's massive. Even a lot of politicians haven't been able to do that. When you look at it, when the Jay-Z's in the United States haven't been able to do that, so to see somebody as young as he is, I don't think Marcus Rashford is the soccer player with that much clout that you can say that, it's because it's Marcus Rashford. He had to work his way to where he is today. So I think people need to kind of commend him on that. So, that's something I would say that for the most part, he's done a great job in ensuring that, you know, so Ole is just saying, he hopes that Rashford can go from being a very good player to world class. And world class is not just about what you do on the pitch. It's also about the leadership qualities that you have on the pitch and off the pitch. And to see Marcus Rashford growing into that, it's really amazing. Is he a player that frustrates the hell out of you? I think he is. You know what I mean? And I know in that PSG game, I was just livid. I was like, man, come on. Why are you not, taking the shot when you need to take the shot? Why are you, he was just doing things that to me, I was just like, this is, he was showing his maturity. But when you take a step back, you start realizing that Marcus is only 23 years old and he's learning, and, he's played a lot of games, and sometimes it doesn't always click. And when you look at the other side, the opposite end of the pitch, Mbappe wasn't really doing anything great. And Mbappe is the World Cup winner. He's the next Ballon d'Or winner. And he was also making those silly mistakes. So it comes with the age, it comes with experience, it comes with the territory. So at the end of the day, I'm happy with Marcus Rashford. I'm happy with his achievements. And obviously, Bruno is sharing that spotlight, which I think they all do, deserve. The one thing I would say too with Ole's press conference was I liked how he, someone had asked him, would a win, if United was to win against Chelsea, would this erase the 6-1 loss to Tottenham? A lot of coaches might have just said, you know what, we're not, we don't want to talk about that. What has happened has happened. This is a new game, and we're just going to go. I liked how he specifically said that is a game that you never forget. That was very key, because it's one thing to kind of, just say, you know what, it's happened, let's just let it go. But no, he's saying, no, that's a game that they're never going to forget. And that's a game that they're always going to remember not to make those mistakes again. So I think his response there was very spot on for a coach. And, like we've all said as players, it's the consistency of a team. It's just, we do so well one weekend, the next weekend you're trying to figure out where are these players that did so well last weekend. And it's just trying to find that consistency. But it's part of the growth process. It's part of what the project is. If you do believe in that project or not, it is part of what is going to happen during that project. It's going to be ups and downs. It's going to be, times you want to crucify Ole, and it's going to be times where you're like, you know what, I give my hats off to Ole. So, it's a consistency. When you kind of look at what Frank Lampard also said too in his press conference, obviously he's talking about it's part of the same project. When you look at what he's done at Chelsea and what Ole's doing at Manchester United, it's the same similar project whereby, Chelsea has slightly gone for the big names, but they're also young players that are for the future as well. Kind of like what United is doing. So obviously, as fans, we're all pissed off that, the board did not back Ole, whatever that means. The board didn't back Ole. But at the same time, they still brought in players, and you're beginning to kind of see the shape that the team, is taking now, that is forming among the lads. So what was I saying about Frank Lampard again? So he was basically saying that there is inconsistency across the league. And I think that's what we're going to see again, like we saw last season till the lockdown. It was, the top, I got to say, apart from Liverpool and maybe Man City, even Man City were just inconsistent. You know what I mean? And the teams that you think, okay, City's got this, they just got embarrassed, So I think the inconsistency has been across the board. And I think the pandemic is only going to make that worse. So the pandemic is just going to make, because you're talking about players who were off for a while. They've come back, played a lot of games, no preseason. People have new players. Like you look at Chelsea, they brought 5 new attacking players, 1 defender and 1 goalie. So they had a very busy market, but without any preseason, without much time to prepare to form that team bond and cohesion, that's what's going to happen. You're going to have this inconsistency. And we all know, like Chelsea should have also what's it called, invested in their defense, but arguably as well, they have a pretty good lineup there. Thiago Silva, I know there's still a lot of huge question marks on, is he an EPL player? Can he play in the EPL? Is he too old to be coming to Chelsea to compete at the highest level? It's to be said, but the one thing that Thiago Silva would give you is the leadership qualities. He's experienced, he's done it in the Champions League, which to me, if you can do it in the Champions League, I think you can also do it in the EPL as well. It might just take a bit longer, and you have to have. I think the main thing right now with Chelsea is trying to find that center back pairing that we can say, okay, Thiago Silva or Rudiger coming in to support. I personally like Rudiger. I think he's more experienced, to be the number 1 center back for Germany, first team on the first team. I think that speaks volume versus Zuma. I like Zuma. I think he still has he has a bright future ahead of him. I think he does, but it's still that concentration. I think Zuma still lacks that concentration. When you look at last weekend, his back pass to Kepa, it's like, what are you doing, man? Like those are those little things that you can tell that this is a player who, were up 2 goals or 3 goals, and you're just, it's like you just kind of switch off. And I think that's what Zuma is doing, which is gonna, with time, I hope that he can develop his game to the point whereby it's 100% focus for the entire game, which it does come with experience. So that's why I currently feel that Chelsea's preferable backline would be Thiago Silva alternating with Zuma, because he's 35 years old. I don't see him playing every EPL game, and then I think Rudiger needs to be their solid rock at the back, someone that they can rely on and week in, week out to deliver it for them. But just kind of going back to the main point, this is a project. I did not believe it at all. I didn't believe it at first because we're so tired of the Glazers and Ed Woodward that we don't want anything to do with them. But I'm beginning to believe in the project myself. I was a non-believer of that, but I think I'm becoming a believer of the project that they're doing. So is Arsenal. So we're beginning to see a lot of things take shape. So I'm really excited about that. The one thing I just wanted to say, I'm excited. I hope we can, in terms of formation, in terms of just trying to figure out what's our best 11. I think that's going to take some time. I think we need to be patient as United fans. Yes, there are players that need to leave the club. Don't get me wrong. There are players that need to leave the club, but I think right now we got to be very careful of who we're talking about that needs to leave the club and who should actually be leaving the club, right? I think, since post-Ferguson, I think this is United's best position right now. I think we're in the best position we've ever been post-Ferguson. We had David Moyes who came in. I honestly could not tell you about that season because I just boycott almost every game. I just couldn't be bothered, especially in Canada where majority of your games are at 7 a.m., 8 a.m. You got to be very selective, man, on what you're going to watch. And under David Moyes, as much as I'm a true fan, some games I just could not get myself to get up to watch because I just could, you know, tell you what was going to happen. Then we had Louis Van Gaal. He tried to do his thing, but it just didn't work out. He just was not bringing in the players that he was bringing in was just like you had two different managers trying to bring in recruit players at the same time. I just didn't think that it worked. And then you had, Mourinho who came in. Mourinho, I have the biggest respect for him, but I think we got a Mourinho that was in a dark place, especially coming from a season that he had just gotten fired or sacked by Chelsea after finishing 17th. And then we decided that we're going to get Mourinho. Not saying that it was a wrong decision that we made or it was the right decision, but it is what it is. When you kind of look back at what happened, Mourinho just definitely wasn't the right guy for the job, but he won us 2 trophies, the FA Cup and the Europa Cup. So at the end of the day, was Mourinho's time spell at United a success or a failure? I wouldn't say it was a failure because he still brought trophies in. So for me, you can't really say that was a failure to me. In terms of, and then we had that whole patch where he was just very bitter, throwing players on the bus, So to me, that was a very dark time in Manchester United's history. And as a club, as fans, we were in a very dark place with Mourinho. And I think the board made the right thing and let him go, even though it cost the club a lot of money to let him go. And then you have the club legend, Ole. Was I supportive of who they picked? No, I wasn't. As much as he was a club legend, I was not supportive of him. But he's shown us that there is something. There is a plan somewhere. We might not necessarily see that plan. It's like when your parents tell you to eat your vegetables, and it's like you just had a kid, you just don't see it, And I think Ole is, for the first time, you can see the club is kind of like a family. The club is like a family. It's no longer just about a bunch of names on the back of their T-shirt. They're actually showing that, okay, we have personality. We want to play together. We want to win for this club. And I think that's the kind of players that he's selectively bringing into the club. So I'm really happy about the future that we do have. I think for so long, we've been so fed up as fans, and now this created this division among fans. And I think it was Culture Cams that did, he did a post about the Pogba versus Bruno and the Rashford versus Martial. Honestly, man, I think, I think it is, I think that's what it's come to. And I do agree with that, is we've become very team whoever we like or whoever the media has put in front of us to like or hate. And I think that's what's going on in Manchester United. Like I said, this is the best position we've ever been. This is the time that we now need to start sticking together, because the players are sticking together, as you can see, and from the press conferences, from the training ground, the videos that we've seen. Pogba is not a virus. Please stop saying that. Pogba is a virus. He's not a virus. Bruno is not a penalty, Pen Fernandez, or whatever everybody wants to call it. All these players, Slabhead, Maguire, yes, they all have their flaws. But I think when you look at the overall picture of the team, we need these guys happy, or we need these guys playing. You know what I mean? So to me, is we need to start coming together as a fan base and stop saying, oh, if Rashford did something, he's getting all the praise, but why is Martial doing that? I'm not used to being that. I got caught up in that. I got caught up in the Twitter beef and the Twitter, who's doing this and who's doing that. And I started, and as of late, I said, you know what? I'm looking at team sheet tomorrow, and I'm just going to be like, you know what? Ole, bring it on, man. Prove me wrong. Ole, prove me wrong. And I think that's how we now need to start seeing it, is, Ole, you know what? Ole, do what you got to do. I got you. Obviously, if he goes down the path of doing things that is not getting us results, then I'll be back and I'll be back. But for now, he's proved me wrong in the 2 games. Even last season, he's proved me wrong a couple of times. So there seems to be a pattern there for Ole. So it's just we got to be very supportive of these players. So that's my thing now. And I know, Pogba has been a very huge topic lately as well from a Manchester United base in terms of, I think probably if you did ask 95% of the fan base, they probably want him out. And there is now this massive, honestly, it feels like hatred for Paul Pogba at the moment. And it's something that, to me, I'm looking at it and it's like, why? Why? And I'll say this to you guys. I think Paul Pogba's career at Manchester United just started. And I'm saying that because kind of like how we've talked about Manchester United post Fergie, you can say that about Pogba since he came to Manchester United. First season had Rooney and Ibrahimovic. They did their thing. They won a tournament. Then after that, whoever really, who has really come into the club, we're talking like, Rashford, Martial, Fred, all these guys were who the actual players that they are now. They were still growing. They were still trying to figure it out. Pogba was arguably, and David De Gea was arguably our only world-class players, or even good players. Because like 2 years ago, Martial would not even be touching the French bench for Leblanc. 2 seasons ago, right? Like Martial was not even on the reserve French team. You know what I'm saying? Rashford, yes, Rashford, from a very young age, he's been groomed to be that British player. But Rashford was still growing, man. Even though, yeah, he was stone cold in Paris taking that penalty kick, but he wasn't the Rashford that he is today. Fred wasn't the Fred. All these players definitely had the quality, but they were not showing it like they are now, right? So we have to remember that too. It's not just about this team has been like this, and then Pogba has been the guy who has just been doing nothing. We have to start looking at it in the sense of, wow, what actually getting this players? We've cried for so long to have Pogba's support. I know people might say that they've bought into that or whatever. It's also been a very difficult year for everybody, injuries, COVID, name it, no preseason. So every player reacts to it differently. So I think, will Pogba stay? I think Pogba will stay. And it's not because of whatever, that another club didn't want Pogba or whatever. No, it's going to be, like he said in the last interview, even though it was only the fact that he wants to go to Real Madrid that was projected. He said, I'm in Manchester. I love my club, and I want to work as hard as everybody else in the club, which tells you that he's seen that people are actually putting in the work. Bruno's coming. Rashford is doing his thing. Martial's doing his thing. Fred, he's seen all this now on the training ground. He's seen all this in the training ground. So he's saying that this is Manchester is his club. He loves his club, and he wants to work hard for it. And so to me, when a player like Pogba says that, and you can't deny it, he's come on in the last 2 games and he's changed it. We tied. We were tying the game. Him and Van de Beek have come on and have changed the game. So we can't deny that. Let's see how the season progresses before we start getting our torches and our, everything to say Pogba out. Because do we want to be in a situation whereby we've already seen how the Glazers are so bad in the market, how slow they take everything. We've seen that. So we let Pogba go right now. Let's say in January, the season is still long. We let Pogba go. Bruno gets injured. We're now back to where we were last December. We're now back to where we were last December, relying on Rashford or Martial, and Martial gets injured, because we all know Martial does get injured during the season. Then what happens? Then where are we? Then where are we looking? Yeah, we have Van de Beek, but Van de Beek hasn't really, yes, he's a great player. I think he's a good player. He's played in the Dutch league, but And he's done bits in the Champions League, don't get me wrong, but can he carry Manchester United week in, week out? We don't know yet, but we're already putting all our faith in that kid that he can. So we got to be very careful, man, on how we want to, what we're seeing for the future. And yeah, it's very easy to say, oh, sell him and use that money to buy a few of the good players. It's very easy to say that. But what's the guarantees that the Glazers will actually get the players that should come in replacement of Paul Pogba? We've seen how they do business in the market. So how are we going to trust that they're just going to use that money from Paul Pogba and pay it to the Glazers as a dividend payment? We don't know that. So I'm not saying that, so I think we need to calm down. Bruno is doing his thing right now. That's what makes a team. It's going to be switch. Bruno is not going to do this the whole season. He's going to have his patches. He's going to have his moments. We're also going to have to rely on Pogba sometimes. We're also going to have to rely on Rashford or Martial. That's why it's called a team sport, not a two-man team. Bruno and Rashford. So we need to start commending all these players and letting all this and giving the players the respect they deserve and looking at it from not the media standpoint, which is what I'm talking about. The ex-United players, they've villainized some players and they've put the hero status on some other players. And that has really, really divided the fan base. And now some of us were, Giggs said this, Roy Keane said that. If this was Roy Keane's time, he would never let this. It's like, you don't know. Someone said, if Alex Ferguson was here, Pogba would not be on the team. How do you know that? How do you know that maybe if Ferguson was here, there would have been different players around Pogba, or Pogba would have been getting a different type of tactics or being played in his actual position. And then maybe he could have actually done well under Ferguson. We don't know all this stuff. So it's very easy to just imagine something in your head designed by the media, and then we just take it and run with it. I was watching this show and they asked the guy, like, why do you think, the guy says, Pogba is a virus, but he couldn't explain why Pogba was a virus. He couldn't explain it. So that's where we are as a fan base. I'm not going to rant too much on that anymore. I think we have a solid group of guys, united, and we need to stick together. We need to just, it is what has happened. The first 3 games was just awful, man. I don't think anybody deserves any praise in those first 3 games that we've had in the season. Newcastle, we've turned things around. PSG, we've turned things around. Even though it was week 6, it's week 5 for United. So it's been 5 games. So I think hopefully we've turned a corner, and let's move on. We've turned the corner. Let's move on. So, that's kind of it. When we look at the weekend preview, like I said, please subscribe, and share to our channel. We're relatively new. We're trying to build a fan base. I'm on Twitter at CJ Socials, as you can see down there. So like I said, please, if you can join us on Sunday, we will be doing the post match review of the El Clasico with Real Madrid and Barcelona. So just to quickly, I know I had talked a bit more about the situation, and that's kind of really what I wanted to do, especially with my first solo broadcast, is basically just to touch base on the situation at Manchester United and just the league as a whole. There's a lot of inconsistency. It's going to be I think it's not going to be a race like last year whereby Liverpool just took it and ran, just ran with it. I think we're going to see a lot of inconsistencies. We're going to see a lot more injuries happening as well. So brace yourself. So those of you that are yelling, Lingard leave, all these guys leave, we're going to need these players at some point. We're going to need them. So I would say let's wait till January and see where we are as a team. And then, just kind of go from there. So, but yeah, so I think, for the Chelsea game, I think, Lampard is going to be using his same, Timo is going to be starting for sure. I don't see why he would sub Timo off. I think he's still going to go with Mason Mount. I know there's a lot of talk that um, he might start Ziyech over Mason. I think in a game like this, Ziyech is slowly getting into form now. He was injured for quite some time, so he came into Chelsea and got an injury. So he's still getting into that match fitness. So I don't think this will be a game that will be smart for that would really be smart for Frank to pick Ziyech over Mason Mount. I don't really see that happening. Perisic is going to be a hard one. So not Perisic. Oh goodness, the American kid. It's going to be a tough one. I think he's a great player. He's somebody who he has a lot of promise, but he's still not a fan of Lampard. He's still not. He's not. I mean, Lampard is still not a fan of his. So it's going to be very interesting to see if Lampard does pick him for this game, because I think he can cause a lot of threats to our defensive line. So definitely going to be a huge one to see. Obviously, I'm thinking Mendy is definitely going to start that game over Kepa. I don't think Kepa is going to be anywhere near that field. I know people had joked about Peter Cech starting that game as well, but Frank Lampard did shut that down as well. So, you know what? I'm looking at it, and it's going to be interesting, man, to see Pulisic. Sorry, that was who I was trying to figure out, not Perisic. Pulisic. So, but I think he's going to go with a similar structure. Obviously, Kai Havertz, Timo. He'll definitely go Mendy at the back. I'm kind of curious to see if he starts Thiago Silva and Thiago and Rudiger together. It'll be very interesting to see what he does on that. But obviously, Conte will definitely start that game too, especially Conte and Pogba knowing each other's game. He would definitely like to start that. And then, coming to Manchester United, I know a lot of fans are saying pick the same formation. I like to see the same formation, don't get me wrong, just because of how threatening Chelsea is going forward. But I also want to see a balance of that defensive unit with the attacking unit as well. I will definitely be a fan of Fred and Van de Beek starting over Fred and McTominay. I will keep everything kind of similar. Obviously, we know Maguire is definitely going to be starting on that team. Just from, Maguire, like I've said it, Maguire and Lindelof are pretty similar. I'll just say Maguire is a bit more experienced just because, he's played on the high level with England at the World Cup. And, so I would say Maguire is probably a bit more experienced than Lindelof. So I think both of those players can be really good if they have the right person next to them, and that has to be either Eric Bailly, and now we've seen that Tuan Zabi is that guy. He definitely is that guy. So I don't think Lindelof and Maguire should be playing together again. I think it has to be one of them alongside either Bailly or Tuan Zabi. That's my take on that. But I'll definitely say the same formation that we did in Paris, either the 5 at the back or the 3 at the back, depending on whether we're attacking or we're defending. But like I said, I like to see Van de Beek, McTominay, I still rate McTominay a lot. Don't get me wrong. My issue with McTominay is the creativity. I think that's the only thing that's going to let him down, because I think he works just as hard as Fred, or almost as hard as Fred. So it's unfair to say Fred but not McTominay. And often, McTominay has shown that he's a threat in the box for corners. Now that we actually do have Tallis, who is actually pretty good on the ball, taking corners. So it's going to be interesting to see that one. I just feel, yes, we can praise this team all we want, but when we're facing teams that are going to sit back, that's when you now need that extra creativity, because we've seen it between Fred and McTominay. We might be seeing some side-to-side passing versus, whereby we might be able to bring in a Van de Beek or a Pogba. So, but like you said, it's hard. I can't pick the team sheet anymore just because Ole has proved me wrong twice already. So if he shows up with the same starting 11, I'm not going to fault him for it. I'm just going to say, hey, I hope it works. That's all I can say is hopefully it does work. But Dove would be my only changes. I know people might ask me, would you like to see Pogba start? No. And I say not because I think Pogba will be good to start, but I don't want him to start because I like what Ole is doing with Pogba right now. This is called 101 PR, public relations PR, not 101. And this is what Ole is doing, and this is what Deschamps did for France. Deschamps did say that in his interview was this was the perfect time for Pogba to go back to the French team, especially after those couple of performances, first 3 performances. He said this was the perfect time for Pogba to have come back to us so that we could, as a family, manage him the right way. And the way you saw, what's his name didn't just Deschamps didn't just show up and just start playing Pogba. He said, no, I'm gonna calm the nerves, calm everybody down, because right now nobody's calm when it comes to Pogba, right? And I think so Ole is doing that, and I'm happy Ole is doing that, is ride the wave. And Pogba knows the plan, and that's why Pogba is smiling, he's happy, everybody, because Pogba agrees with that plan. Pogba messed up in the first 3 games, and it's hot. People are out to get him right now. So I like what he's doing is, okay, Pogba, you get your time, sit and come in off the bench when we need you and change the game. And if Pogba can keep doing this on a consistent basis, whereby it comes in, changes the game. Now, the story is no longer going to be Pogba out. Is now people are now going to be pushing and saying, yo, we need to start starting Pogba. And that's where Ole needs to get to, because Ole is seeing the value that Pogba is bringing to the future of this team. Whether a lot of fans disagree or not, Ole is seeing that, and the board is seeing that. So it's going to be very interesting to see how that works. But as a huge Pogba fan, I'm happy that I wouldn't want him to start against Chelsea. I like him to come on, especially if is Rocky, come in, show us what you've got, man. Continue to prove the haters wrong. And I think that's what Pogba needs to do right now, is just continue to so slowly prove the haters wrong. And you know what? That would happen over time. So I'm really excited to see what we do. I'm really excited to see what we do. Let me just know your thoughts. Please comment below. Like I said, please join us for the El Clasico post-match review. I didn't really want to do that on my own because I'll be honest with you, I want to make this a soccer podcast. This is a soccer podcast, not just for Manchester United, but as a United fan, United is going to be a huge part. There's going to be a huge talking point. But at the same time, I want this to be a football community as well. So I really wanted to have that post-match review with actual Real Madrid fans or Barcelona fans, and we can actually hear their honest and more professional opinion than I would have. So please join us for that. We want to have a lot more people coming on the show. And you can also catch me too on Adam's show as well. Adam Matich's Mad Reds United. You can definitely catch me on there doing a post-match review as well. So we're looking to grow this channel. So please, once again, please like, subscribe, and share. And go from there. So before I wrap up, my prediction for the match, I would say 2-2. Just because I'm looking at it, lethal attacks, shaky defense. So it's one of those ones where we're going to be, either team could be leaking goals. So it's just a matter of who's going to leak more goals. But I would say 2-2 seems like a reasonable prediction, but we never know these days in the world of soccer. It's very, very unpredictable. So you just never know. But anyways, this has been fun. This is my first time doing this alone, so bear with me. This has been fun. I'm excited and to continue to provide you with new content. And yeah, let's go. So thank you, and I will see you next time, Sunday, as you can see below, 6 p.m. Paris time, 5 p.m. UK time, and here in Canada, it's going to be 11 a.m. Eastern time as well. So thank you, and see you next time.